Good morning and welcome to another interesting edition of the Market Review, where we discuss developments in the financial and capital market as it affects the economy. Today we'll be discussing a topical issue which has been at the forefront of discourse amongst market operators and regulators, the unclaimed dividend issue. We'll be looking at how it can be addressed in Nigeria as it has become a rising tide. Just for clarity for our viewers, unclaimed dividend is when a dividend is being paid by the company, but the shareholder has not yet taken the dividend or claimed it. So you now understand why it's an issue. Dividend is paid, but the shareholders are not claiming it. That's been a major concern in the market. We need to have this interesting conversation is Mr. Obong Idiong. He's the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Africa Prudential PLC. Nice to have you on the program.
Thank you, Basi. Good morning, viewers.
Good morning. And of course, in terms of the insights around the unclaimed dividend issue, the second quarter committee meeting of the capital market stakeholders driven by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Director General, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, informed stakeholders that the current amount of unclaimed dividends has accumulated to 170 billion naira. That is massive. In 2020, it rose from 158 billion naira in 2019. Before we go on further, let's give you a wrap-up of what happened in the capital market from last week. The Securities and Exchange Commission expressed its readiness to collaborate with relevant alternative dispute resolution professionals as a means to ensuring effective dispute resolution in the capital markets. Director General of the SEC, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, stated that the need for a veritable solution mechanism has long been recognized in the capital markets. Also last week, the Debt Management Office said Nigeria needs solutions to address low revenue and high borrowings. The Director General of the DMO, Patience Oniha, observed the need for this action at an interactive session on the 2022 to 2024 Medium-Term Expenditure Fiscal Strategy paper held by the National Assembly Committee on Finance. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll go full strength on the conversation around unclaimed dividend.
The ProShare mobile app, your non-stop access to financial and economic information. With the ProShare app, you can customize your preferred news and videos. You can also get access to latest financial and economic news. Watch videos related to business, economy, financial markets, and lots more. The ProShare app gives you in-depth market stats from the NSE, FMDQ, and NASD. That's not all. You also get real-time alerts. The ProShare mobile app. Information at your pace and in your space.
Welcome back. If you're joining the program of Market Review, we have a conversation today around addressing the rising tide of unclaimed dividends. Our guest today is Mr. Obong Idiong, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Africa Prudential PLC. Mr. Obong Idiong, we know that Africa Prudential PLC is a registrar company, but not just that, you provide investor services and, of course, business support solutions. But let's look at this concern. And one of the key decisions at the last second quarter Capital Market Committee meeting was again reinforcing the activities of the Committee on Identity Management for Capital Market and how we can address the unclaimed dividend issues, because according to the Director General of SEC, part of the reasons why it has been on the rising tide is because of multiple subscriptions and identity issues. What's your take on these developments?
Thank you very much, Basi. Well, the Committee on Identity Management was set up by the Capital Market Committee of the Securities and Exchange Commission, like you rightly said, to solve problems of incomplete KYC, which is know your customer, and also multiple accounts in the market, and make recommendations towards addressing this issue. As you know, incomplete KYC is one of the legacy issues that is hampering the resolution of unclaimed dividend. And this is problems registrars have. So it's payment we're talking about. And to get paid, I need to verify that I'm paying the right person. And that's why complete KYC is very, very key. Now, data from the securities, the Central Securities Clearing System says that only 2% of investors' accounts in the market have complete KYC. Now, 2%, putting a figure around that.
Only 2% of the entire market.
Only 2%, correct. and this is data from the CSCS, and 2% is 80,000 investors are against 4 million investors. Now, incomplete KYC is a legacy issue, and it's while there's seamless efforts to help address it, it comes from the past. If you recall, also in 2015, when the e-DMMS, the electronic mandating of accounts, was introduced by the SEC. Years before then, the capital market, has been on since 1960. And you see, recall where dividends were paid and sent to PO boxes and all that. So a lot of issues that are accumulated based on this KYC gap that we have in the market that is legacy.
So that's a very huge data. 2% of the entire investors, about 80,000, like you said, if we're going to put that around 4 million, that's very huge. Legacy issues, like you said, incomplete KYC. So, how are the registrars like you addressing this challenge, particularly leveraging digitization? Because some friends and people in the market complain about the fact that they have to go extra mile to some registrar companies. I won't mention names, but just going to get that whole physical process. Digitization has now brought an opportunity to ease the whole process. What are the registrars doing? How are you synergizing efforts in this regard?
Thank you. So you see, actually, it's not all doing. You see, in terms of mandates and ensuring that accounts are mandated and the QIC, the registrar community has about 1.1 million mandated accounts, right? And I totally agree in terms of looking at steps using digitization to solve some of these problems. And that's happening in the registrar too. One of the things we introduced was electronic version of the E-Dividend Mandate form, whereby at the comfort of your home or your office, you could just use your phone and mandate your account, right? But that in itself, total or complete. In terms of there are other requirements that we need to, because the market doesn't operate in isolation, the registrars don't operate in isolation, right? So while we pioneered that, bringing in that automatic electronic transfer, there are other aspects that have to work seamlessly together. For us at Africa Prudential, if you look at right now, in terms of dividend, we have about 90% success payouts within 2 weeks of the company allowing dividend, and it's been approved by the AGM. And as of last year, in 2020, we paid out a total of 120 billion dividend in the market. And also in terms of this unclaimed dividend, I'm talking about digitization and automation. It should also be noted that while we hear the figure of 170 billion unclaimed dividend out there in the market, SEC also in 2015 came up with a rule that mandated that after 15 months, the registrars hold only 10% of dividends paid, and the rest is returned to the issuing company, right? So, yes, so it's not as if these 170 billion is sitting with the registrars, but again, it is a capital market issue that needs to be resolved collectively.
Yes, and just like Gary says, a capital market issue, but the automation of the E-Dividend Mandate Management System process, like you rightly said, is something that all stakeholders are working towards. How would you see the role of the CSCS and registrars and, like you rightly said, other stakeholders coming together to ensure that this process hits the timeline to improve and address this rising tide, reduce it drastically, so that we can begin to see more interest from retail investors who are not captured?
Okay, we continue to collaborate with the CSS, the registrars. As you know, the CSS provides us with the investors' information, and then we record and make payments of dividend. And the CSS also, talking about digitalization, introduced a portal whereby this information is transferred. But there are other interoperability that we need to solve within the market. For one, the process is not totally automated, right? If you look at the NIBSS, e-Dividend is housed with NIBSS. It's not fully automated because there's no integration between the NIBSS platform and the registrar's platform, which is one of the things that we need to really solve. We've tried to put that, and there are talks that continue to go ahead. And so that what that does is that drastically reduces the TAT time, and it automates the process. So we are not looking at where shareholders or investors have to carry forms or go to fill and take it to the registrar's office. Once these are integrated into our applications, then a lot happens. Also, we look at an area of, and there's also interoperability that is needed across the within the registrars and other capital market operations, as this will solve a lot of challenges, especially based on some areas where there's this silent approach. And then if you look at the area of probate, right? Probate is another big. We have a lot of all these unclaimed dividend that those that have passed, and probate is another big area where that needs drastic automation. And when that happens, so the process becomes seamless, and it's easier for investors to just go on, apply, and move ahead. One of the things we are talking in our in the Institute of Capital Market Registrars, we're looking at and doing a lot in terms of this automation.
Definitely. So the interoperability issues need to be really addressed. I mean, that's synergy between what NIBSS has and then registrars and, of course, all stakeholders. But it's good that SEC is taking this seriously. But, of course, the infrastructure and the systems have to really support that. And it's good that registrars like Africa Prudential and several others are working around the clock to improve the digitization process. It's very important because it's a going concern that we're having this unclaimed dividend challenge. But in terms of increasing awareness, I mean, the Securities Exchange Commission said, yes, awareness will continue. What better approach can be driven in this regard? Registrars also need to be at the forefront too, apart from SEC and the market operators, in encouraging, working with the shareholders groups also, and other various investors.
I think you're right in terms of awareness, and SEC has really pushed for this and has also driven this. And I think across the market, there's that awareness. There's a lot that happens, from corporate actions to in the papers, and everywhere you go, you see people talking about the mandating your account and everything. But as we've said here, there are a lot of other things beyond just the awareness. Right, the system needs to be available. The ease of doing it has to be available. The connections between us and other capital market, between us being registrars, automation of that process we need has to be available. Looking at the probate, where a lot of these unclaimed dividends lie, people that have died over the period, or diseased, over the period, there also have to be an automation within that. So I think that looking at all the problems, and it's good that the problem is at the forefront. And if you recall, with the Finance Act in 2020, there was a lot of clamor when a lot of people came to collect when, some of the regulation of the Act, it drove some awareness. So that helped in terms of driving awareness, but it has to be a total process. There's a lot happening, but again, we need to do more, and we need to do it together. It's not a registrar's it's not a registrar's problem, it's not a SEC problem, it's a market problem, and the market comprises of a lot of other operators. We need to come and in each sphere in which we play, we need to ensure that the process is seamless, and so we can just, end this unclaimed dividend issue.
Well, I see a lot of optimism from your side, which is good in terms of the fact that this tide can be reduced. But in addition, we do have additional 1 or 2 or 3 issues that will need to be addressed so that we can really see scale in this. I know you've mentioned the interoperability issues, the synergy that's required, and the awareness which has been raised here.
Well, I think also, I think that also from the market, from the investors' point of view, we also need to ensure that, we now have standard bonds to a large extent in the market, in terms of making this your mandate, and also from the brokers, making this your mandate, just ensure that all information and all data are complete. And also, in terms of the other data that has been there, that hasn't been complete, just calling on the investors again, this is announcements or awareness, calling on investors to ensure that their accounts are mandated. And I think also, that awareness, some people don't even know that they have dividends to be paid. I think that with also with the advent of COVID, I think that digital transformation is here to stay. I think that as we continue to promote and look for easier ways of investors, or let me call them about our clients, easier ways of our clients, having access, and easier ways of meeting the needs of the clients. I think that having that at the forefront, putting your processes and everything around your clients, I think that would also help in generating a lot of progress within this. solve the issue.
Very interesting. And I just want to ask Mr. Idiong, the capital market in Nigeria showed a lot of innovation during the heat of the COVID. Now that it's easing, and the registrars were not left out in terms of innovation and all that. And what was the experience like? I mean, managing the annual general meetings and going on with innovation, despite the fact that there were concerns that, oh, COVID could really affect it. But at the end, we've seen that registrars were able to manage it. What are 1 or 2 or 3 learning points for viewers to just learn from the whole experience?
Well, I think first of all, every business should have a business continuity process in place, and not just having it in place, also testing it. And so we were lucky that we actually a week before the lockdown, we had actually simulated, and everybody sat at home over the weekend and worked and at different times during the week. So we actually simulated because we saw this coming. And I think that also helped because there is a way of if you're just used to a certain way of doing things and you continue doing that certain way of doing things, then there might not be a lot of growth. But when sometimes the system, when there's a shake in the system and they now start looking at areas of change and how well you can manage. And like you rightly said, I think the registrars community did very well in terms of managing. I don't think that there were any gaps. You saw in 1 week, in the week of April. In a week in April, we held about 6 annual general meetings, and all of them were virtual. And again, we already had created virtual solutions for this. And over the period to today, something we're going to launch third quarter. We have enhanced that solution to call APMs, and we see it doing a lot more where it can take resolutions where there's full participation of the registrars. We think this change is welcome across in terms of, and we saw that, yes, we did some, and we managed the situation, and we were able to progress and staff work. Again, one of the greatest things was the safety of the welfare of our staff. People talk about, and ensuring them, and that was also very key to what we do. Now we're back in the office in a different way. Workers, I think it has changed. I mean, look at us having, normally I would have been at your office or you been in my office, and we're doing this virtually, and a lot would have, and a lot of changes like that we see. But one thing I would say is not to go back and sit back and say, okay, this is it. Continue looking for ways, continue looking forward to ways in which you can, drive this digital transformation. I think that, it's something that is here to stay, and we see that, adopting new technologies and adopting new ways of doing business or adopting new business models would actually help in growing your business.
Well, so indeed the key word was digital transformation and business continuity plan. And that's how the capital market was able to weather through the challenges, and a very interesting chapter of Nigeria, which everybody will need to learn about over the time. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Obong Idiong, Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Africa Prudential PLC. Very clear insight from you on how we can address the rising tide of unclaimed dividends, this need for more digitization, need for increasing awareness, synergy with other market operators, and of course through the infrastructure of the NIBSS, the Nigerian Interbank Settlement Systems, and the registrar systems, and of course addressing that legacy of incomplete know your customer identity process, and of course more subscriptions. If we can make significant progress in those areas, I believe that we would make a significant impact in reducing the issues of unclaimed dividends in the country. Thank you once again for the time, and we hope to have you in subsequent editions to discuss other developments in the capital market. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that'll be all for this edition of the Market Review. And if you have questions, comments, or suggestions around the issues of unclaimed dividends in the country, in the capital markets, you can send your views or comments to otuabasi.basekong@proshenji.com. Also, if you want to get more insights on what's happening in the capital markets, log on to our website, www.proshenji.com. Go to the right hand of the bar, scroll down and click on Capital Markets. You'll get all the latest news and developments and stories, including what's happening across the registrars and the issues of unclaimed dividend, which of course is now at the forefront of discussions on how it has to be addressed in the markets. Also, don't forget that this period, you need to get further information, particularly millennials. Connect to us with our social media platforms displayed on the screen. We're all there to give you latest information around the financial market and the economy. Don't forget that this period you need to stay safe. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.